Good morning, everybody. Got your coffee? I got mine. I got mine. So listen, before we get started, I want to say thank you so much to Jacqueline, girl. Thank you so much. Jacqueline sent me what she said is love in a cup. And you know what? I agree. I agree so much that I'm going to steal that catchphrase from you. Because, girl, I really do be feeling y'all's love. And let me tell you, to the degree in which I do, it's not just when you all send coffee money or whatever money. That's not it. I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong. Of course, yeah, I feel that love. But it's the way that you all engage with me. It's the things that you say to me. It's the way that you motivate me. It's your wishes for me. I'm just glad that I found my people. And yeah, you're going to get people who are going to try to disrupt that because they are broken inside and they are resentful of any space that doesn't center them or their emotions or isn't reflective of how they feel inside, which is happy or respectful or safe or kind. And thank you so much, by the way, for always tagging me in that comment so that we could just get rid of them, because we don't need to argue with them and go back and forth with them. You know, that's not a good use of energy. And so we won't waste energy on things like that. We'll just get rid of them and just keep the space as kind as we possibly can keep it. Amen. Amen. So, and let me tell you, this week you all sent a lot of love my way, and I was finally able to get that office chair. That, you know, that, because honey, I'm trying to tell you, this chair that I have is trash. And, you know, I still didn't really want to spend that much money on a chair because the chair was right around $200. And, you know, it's not that I'm not cheap, but I am frugal. But I'm only frugal because I have to be so careful with what I spend my money on. I really do. And so I found it on a sale, and then it had a coupon attached to it. But that still only brought the chair up to around the $200 mark. And then I'm glad I went back to look at it because I really wanted it, but I was hesitant, you know, again, because money. And I saw where it had a redeem discount button next to the coupon button. So I'm like, well, what is this? What is this going to do? Because I'd never seen that on Amazon before. Maybe I've never paid any attention. Have you all seen that before? So I hit it. Took $60, $62 to be exact, off the chair. You guys, thank you so much for this office chair. It's green, it's leather, it's a big and tall chair, it's very supportive. The reviews on it was fabulous. Thank you. And I don't know if you all know, but I'm writing a book, and when I tell you this is the most uncomfortable chair in the world to sit at, you know, it's horrible. But thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't say thank you enough. Couple of things before I start talking about what I want to talk about. Yesterday in the mail, look what I got. Remember when I got doxed and someone sent the police to my house for a wellness check? This is the 911 call. I have nothing in my house to play this on, and I was going to go to the library today, but it is literally raining cats and dogs in Columbia, South Carolina today. If you are in Columbia, South Carolina, you know. It is pouring. It's like the sky opened up and just started dumping water. It's pouring. So I don't know if I'll get to the library today. I actually have to put together that shelf because the shelf that Jen bought for our library pantry so that I can organize things a lot better, it came yesterday. So that's probably what I'll be doing today. I'll try to get to the library, but it may not happen today. But I'm very interested to know who called the police on us. Stay tuned, because y'all know I'm going to tell it. So anyway, I may even play it. I wish I had something. I got a laptop here, but my laptop doesn't have one of those slots. It's got the internal built in. It doesn't have it where you can open it up and slide in a disc. So I'm going to have to go to the library in order to listen to it. And, okay. But anyway, listen. I don't know if J-Zay did it or not. I don't know. I do not know if J-Zay did it or not. You know, here's the thing. Because I don't want to sound dismissive. Let me start off by saying nothing anyone ever does surprises me anymore. Nothing. Nothing. And no one is all good or all bad. But when you go after a black community hero, and in the black community, a hero is anyone who has just made it up out of the hood and made themselves rich. And we tend to protect those types of black people, no matter what they are accused of, because it is our way of protecting blackness. You know, we protect heinous people in the black community, people who have done heinous things under the guise of defending and protecting blackness. And a lot of us don't understand the difference. I don't know if he did it, but it wouldn't surprise me if he did. I know that he and Puffy, Sean Combs, Diddy, whatever he calling himself this month, I know that they, back in the day, they were really tight. And one thing I do know is birds of a feather actually really do fly together. People in common with each other fuck with each other. That's why y'all fuck with me. And that's why most of us all get along, because we are like-minded. But sometimes people can do heinous things and they can grow up. You know what I'm saying? They can take another route. Obviously, Diddy was still partying and doing nasty parties, and J-Zay went another route. He grew up. He became a family man. He became an entrepreneur. He's now a billionaire. But he has done some things in his life that are questionable to me. He started off selling dope, as we all know, in the Bronx. And I just have a disdain for the black people who sold death and destruction to other black people in our community. Now, mind you, I get a lot of the nuance behind that. I do. When the government poured guns and drugs into the black community during the crack epidemic, and they gave these things that a lot of black people were too hungry to refuse or resist. I understand that. I understand that. When you give away for people who can't pay their rent, can't afford life, can't afford clothes, can't afford groceries, and you give them a way to be able to get those things and then feel value that they didn't feel because they put their self-worth into material possessions because of post-traumatic slave disorder. It's just a recipe for disaster, and so I understand it. And so in that respect, I do try to give grace. And everybody, you know, we like to say black men destroyed the black neighborhoods with the crack epidemic. But, it was black women that was on that shit too, in more ways than one. And a lot of people don't want to acknowledge that, but I will. Because there were young black women who wanted to come up too. And they did it by attaching themselves to a doughboy. A doughboy is just what we in Detroit, what we call the guy who sold drugs. That is, and didn't go to Persian high school. If you know, you know. Or the mothers who maybe wasn't crazy about their sons selling drugs, death and destruction to other black people in the community, but they took the money. Think Snowfall. Did you ever see the show Snowfall? And remember how Franklin's mama was in the beginning? No, not no child of mine. Remember how his mom and daddy was? And then they became heavily reliant on that drug money, and to the point where she became his biggest cheerleader and helped him build a bigger drug empire. A lot of mothers took the money. And you know what? And I try not to judge them too harshly. Because when you struggling trying to pay your bills, trying to feed, your other kids, I can see how that's tough to resist. But it still happened. And we have to kind of acknowledge that. So I don't like the way he got his start, but I do, as someone who fucked up a lot when they were young, I understand what a second chance can do, and look what he did with it. So you have to acknowledge that. But as someone who has fucked up a lot, done a lot of harm to a lot of people when I was a lot younger, I don't get to age out of accountability. We don't get to age out of accountability. And I don't know if this man did this or not. But I know I'm gonna wait and see. I'm gonna wait and see. A lot of people didn't think R. Kelly did it. Even when they had a video of him urinating on a 14-year-old, they still didn't think he did it. People wanted to blame everybody but R. Kelly. They wanted to blame the girls. They wanted to blame the parents. They wanted to blame the industry. They wanted to blame everybody except R. Kelly, who actually pulled out his penis and peed on a child. And he was doing all these things to little girls. He was the adult. And people still found a way, because they wanted to keep stepping in the name of love. They still found a way to defend him. Same thing with Cosby. A lot of people feel like because most of his victims weren't black women, he started off with black women, victimizing black women. Everybody in the industry, a lot of people, they knew. But because we saw him as America's dad, people wanted to defend Cosby. Nobody is ever all good or all bad. People will surprise you. But ignoring the truth of a person, that doesn't help anything. You have to acknowledge the truth of shit. Otherwise, people don't evolve. Humanity doesn't evolve. And then we had Diddy. Nobody wanted to believe that till they saw that video, what he was doing to Cassie. And then they saw all the bruises. Some journalists and some eagle-eyed people pulled up all those interviews where you could clearly see bruises on her here and there. Or times during interviews when he was tugging on her to make her stop talking. Or people became aware sometimes you need a clue in order to get a clue. And now we have J-Zay, who, along with Diddy, is accused of raping a 13-year-old. I'm leaning more towards it probably did happen. Because we do live in a society where grown men, especially when they're like under 30, over 32, but under 30, they really do go after those teenage girls. And teenage girls, they don't have their full frontal lobe developed. And, excuse me, they haven't stepped into their womanhood. Remember the interview and if you don't know what I'm talking about, Google it, it'll come up. And it's the interview remember when Tyra Banks had her little show and Rihanna was on it, and a very, very young Rihanna, who is also a billionaire in her own right. She described this time when J-Zay forced her into a contract, and what he did he held this girl in a room until 3 o'clock in the morning. And when he got so tired to where I guess he wanted to go home, he told her it's 2 ways out of this room only. And one is with a signed contract, and you can go through that door. Or you can go over that balcony. You choose. And this is at the time, a 16-year-old Rihanna in the room with grown men. What is she gonna do? And J-Zay was still Brooklyn dope dealer mentality J-Zay at that time. He hadn't evolved into the person that he is now. And so I think it's very, very possible that this happened. But again, We don't know, so I'm gonna wait and see. We don't get to age out of accountability, and if he did it, he should be held accountable for it. And if he didn't, hopefully that truth comes out. But we have to, you know, they said 2024 was the year of exposure. That's what Cat Williams said, and it was. It really was. He said that at the beginning of the year this year, it's the year of exposure. Folks gonna be exposed. I think 2025 is setting up to be the year of accountability. You know, just people being met with the year consequences. People being met with consequences. And consequences always find us. They do. They always find us. No matter who we are, no matter what color we are, no matter what background we come from, accountability always finds us. Always. I don't know what else to say about it, other than I saw the statement that he put out without legal counsel. And he's fighting back. He's fighting back hard. But that don't mean he didn't do it. Diddy put out a very strong, if you remember, I didn't do it. Her name should be revealed, you know. And then that tape dropped. I feel bad for his kids because they are the innocents in this. They are. But this is really why we have to not hold celebrities and people in pop culture. We have to not put them on pedestals. If you never put a person on a pedestal, you will never be disappointed by any of their actions. And also, too, we have to understand that even though they're celebrities, they're humans. They're just humans with money and popularity, but they're humans capable of doing the same fucked up shit everybody else does. You know, they're not magical beings. They're not fucking unicorns and leprechauns and shit. They're people. And people fuck up and people do bad things. And not wanting it to believe it, you know, is one thing, but denying people the ability to speak their truth is another. And if that is her truth, then she is entitled. This is a person that would be in their, you know, this would be a older millennial, you know, by now. And they are entitled to speak their truth. And they're entitled to have their moment and let the chips fall where they may. But I do know one thing, though, is that when women are that young, like that young 16-year-old Rihanna that was in that room being strong-armed by J-Zay, there's a reason why men pick women that young. You know, because we don't know no better. And we are easy to manipulate. And the world tells us that men are something that most of them aren't. They give us all of these fairy tale books. And they tell us that men are the hero and the protector and the answer to all of our problems. And that they will keep us safe. And that they will love us and not harm us. And when you're 16, a few years ago, you were still reading those books. You still believe in the fairy tale. And then when you, later on, as you start to really experience men, you understand what they really are to women and the harm and the damage that they can do. And trauma is a funny thing. Sometimes your brain will work so good at protecting you while you try to survive your trauma that you won't even remember your trauma. And trauma can do such a good job at turning you into a victim that you stay a victim. And trauma can make you not strong enough to speak about the trauma. And then one day, you see someone else that has experienced the same kind of trauma that you've experienced. And you see that they were believed and that they were supported. And those buds of courage start to blossom. And you just start speaking your truth. It can happen the day after the trauma, the day of the trauma, the day after the trauma, the week, the month, the year, 20, 30 years. It took me years before I could speak on the trauma that my brother's father put me through. And when I spoke on the trauma, it was my very own mother that told me and forced me not to. Because if your mama don't believe you, nobody else is going to believe you. Not if your mama don't believe you. And so you are quieted. You are suppressed. You are shamed or gaslit into being quiet. And then the day can come when you decide you don't want to be quiet anymore. And you should be allowed to speak without people saying something like, well, why didn't she say something then? Whole lot of reasons why she might have not said anything then. Whole lot of reasons. Doesn't matter when she speaks up. Just like you don't get to put a time frame on somebody's grief when they experience the loss of a loved one, you don't get to put a time limit on how somebody navigates their trauma either. If you're not going to put a timeline on grief, you can't put one on trauma either. And it could be about money. We don't know. But it could also be the truth. And if it's the truth, let me tell you, when someone speaks their truth and people say horrible things, when the truth is being spoken so that the truth doesn't get spoken, all y'all do is further victimize the victim. Let that shit play out. J-Zay deserves to defend himself. But she deserves to speak on her trauma, her way, however she chooses. And any other victim. You don't get to tell somebody how to navigate their trauma or how to tell their story. Y'all have a good day. If you would like to support this video or my platform, I will leave my Cash App and my Venmo down in the comments. And y'all have a good day. Leave your thoughts in the comments.